Hello friends and welcome to the Plug-in India Electric Vehicle Issue Tracker episode 3. We've been following closely electric vehicle users for many years now, and finally we've started reporting on some common issues that users face and if they have come up with some solution themselves or if the company has provided them with a solution. We use exclusively the Plug-in India forums for this, where we report these issues and the results thereof, and then this is available for the entire EV community or anybody who's interested to search and find out the details of each of these issues. So do check out the description below, where we've outlined why we feel that this kind of a series is really important. Alright, so let's get started with the first issue. This is an EV owner from Mumbai, Ashley, who owns a Revolt RV400. Now a couple of problems started happening with Ashley. Namely, his LCD indicator just blanked out, and the Revolt RV400 has a sound because electric scooters bikes don't normally have any sound, but there is an artificial sound given so that just for effect and so that people can know that the bike is coming. So this stopped happening. His brake pads got worn out, the battery compartment key got jammed, and his GPS also stopped working. So a lot of issues happened to Ashley. So this has happened to Ashley in 7,000 kilometers worth of riding. I don't think that the brake pad should have worn out so soon, but it's possible because this is a high torque bike, and when you brake hard then the pads also get worn out, or possibly they were misaligned, whatever the details. Let's take a look what did Ashley do. So Ashley basically turned off the motorcycle, turned it back on, and that did not make the LCD come back up. So he went to the service center. So what the service center did was they replaced a fuse that had got blown in the LCD. That started working. They changed the accelerator and the sound started coming again. They even changed the brake pads, which were then again as good as new. And the GPS unit was replaced and the lock was changed on the battery compartment. So all in all, Ashley was charged 718 rupees for all of this. Out of this, the throttle was within warranty, so it was replaced free of cost. For the rest, Ashley was charged something. So this issue is finally closed. So guys, Ashley has also done a Mumbai to Pune trip on his RV400, and we have documented that in a video on the Plug-in India YouTube channel. The link is given in the forums, and the link to the forums is given in the description below. So go there and check out this issue. So all you Revolt owners out there, please comment, tell us about issues that you faced during your service and what are the solutions that you got for them. Also, if you've done similar long rides like Ashley, way beyond the range of your vehicle, let us know. We are always interested to hear such things. So the second issue this week is Mangesh from Mumbai, and he owns a Mahindra e-Verito and also an MG ZS EV. Now, this is a 2019 model e-Verito which he purchased in 2021. So far, he's driven 700 kilometers, and one fine day he had gone out for a drive. About 45 kilometers he rode and took a break for tea at 30% SOC. When he came back, the car would not respond. The door wouldn't open, it wouldn't start up, it was just dead. So Mangesh didn't know exactly what to do right then. He was guided by the EV community, and they told him that there is a switch below the bonnet. The picture, you can take a look at it right now, and the details of this are given in the forums. Please click the link and take a look at these, and you will see that he was able to wake up the car by using this solution that the EV community has provided to him, and as a result he was able to then move the car and take it back home. So Mangesh went back home, took a multimeter, checked the aux battery, and he found that the voltage was okay. So we don't really know why exactly this problem happened and why the car stalled, but it's working fine for now. It is recommended that he would now have to charge overnight, and every few days he should be charging his car overnight so that the auxiliary battery also has enough time to charge. It is an guesstimate that it was the auxiliary battery that had deep discharged, and that is why the car wasn't able to start up. So it's important, possibly the auxiliary battery is weak and might need replacement, but for now his issue is solved and the car is moving again. So let's move on to the third issue in the issue track. This is our very own Atul Gopal from Plug-in India. Plug-in India is a part-time user of a Tata Nexon EV, and it's been 2 months now and 2500 kilometers, and it's been a fantastic ride. We've really enjoyed using the vehicle. However, Atulji does report that there are quite a few issues happening at the service center where there is a total lack of coordination, and he had to spend a whole day over there just to get a simple service done. And also I'll just take you through his day. Basically what happened was, when he reached there, he wasn't able to park inside even though he had booked the slot. So there was a mismanagement. They could be calling the customers or picking up the cars as they used to. This is Sai Baba Automobiles in Pune. And so the issue that they've been facing is that there is this critical alert that comes up, and the vehicle refuses to start up. A couple of restarts and the car starts up if you have your fingers crossed, like Windows style. And the engineer at the service center was also not able to figure out why this is so. All that happened was that they downloaded the logs from the car to their service computer, laptop, and then the car was sent in for a wash and all the service things were done. A number plate had to be fixed, but that was the job of the sales team, not the service team. So there was a lack of coordination over there. And then again on the way out, there was a wash to be done, and we said he'd only wash the interior, but the team that does the washing interior and exterior is the same. So anyway, there was a long line, and then on the way out the system malfunctioned, so they were not able to get a gate pass. So a manual gate pass had to be made, which required all the service heads and everybody in top management at Sai Baba Auto to sign off on it, which was a big ordeal. So while Atulji was waiting in line for getting his car washed, and finally his number came after half an hour, they couldn't move the car because again critical alert issue. So they called the whiz kids. They came running with their laptops, plugged it in, couldn't start it up. So they did what all Windows users do, restarted the car thrice and it started working. But Atulji wanted something more to be done than just restarting the car. So they flashed the BMS again, and they were told that Tata is coming up with a fix for this, but Tata doesn't have OTA updates. So they will have to get their car back to the service center to update the BMS so that this issue doesn't keep happening again. On the way out, finally, wonder of wonders, they asked him for a 10 on 10 rating, and Atulji said that the service was pathetic, but the car is so good that he might even consider doing that. So that was a Plug in India experience with the Tata Nexon EV. Another customer from Mumbai, Mr. Ramesh Dharap, also had kind of a bad experience at the Tata Nexon service center in Mumbai. This is Puneet Auto, and they didn't have in stock the transmission oil, which was a consumable, which they had to replace on that particular service. He said it took a long time. His car was moved around quite a lot inside the workshop, and he wasn't very happy with the way the service was done. Mr. Ramesh says that even though it was a scheduled service, they should have known that these things are going to be required in the car and they should have kept them in stock. But there was a lack of coordination. Also, he felt that the people who were servicing the car did not have specific EV related skills, and they were not properly trained to deal with this electric vehicle. And this is one or more of the pain points that most EV users face. So basically, from both of these issues, what we can see is when an ICE company takes on electric vehicles, they do face problems because their staff is not skilled. They have service centers in place and they have other facilities in place, but they are not EV specific, and EVs being a very small number right now, they are not highly motivated to get more facilities, get more services, train their staff and spend on that right now. So basically, ICE car dealers and service centers make a lot of money from ICE car servicing and not as much from electric vehicles, because there is not so much to do. You just need to have the right knowledge and a few tools and things can be put in place. So there is not much incentive for them to service EVs, to give the customer that glowing satisfaction and service that they can if they want to. There is a definite lack of EV focus, and this is something that needs to be looked into. So I don't know how it will work out, but I think maybe the ICE companies should try to have separate setups for servicing electric vehicles, where electric vehicle specific problems are taken care of, and they're not all mixed up with the ICE cars as well, where there's a lot of rush and a crowd and a lot of mess happening. So maybe the ICE manufacturers and the ICE dealers and the ICE service centers could really look into this, where they have a EV portfolio which is definitely going to grow into the future. This is the future. So to build up on something which gives the EV customers a better service, that is what needs to be done. EV focus needs to be developed. So details about this issue are given in the link below. Please go ahead and take a look at it. So the fourth issue over here is faced by some Tata Nexon EV customers. We have Mr. Vivek Ahuja from Delhi, who is an avid EV enthusiast and has been using his Tata Nexon EV for more than a year now. And what happened was, for the first year, he got the Z Connect app complimentary. And as the year ended, the app stopped working and it gave him an error message asking him to subscribe to the gold or platinum plans. And these were pretty expensive. So the gold plan was 3,528 approx for a year, and the platinum plan was 6,000. It's like cheaper than 2 1-year subscriptions. So what happens if you don't have the Z Connect app, or what happens if you do have it? So basically what the app does, it monitors the car and gives you the telematics information that the car is reporting to the OEM's servers. And this can be very useful for electric vehicle owners. Like, say, if you're in your office, you've plugged in your car and you want to see how long it will take to finish charging, what is the current state of charge of your battery, or if you want to pre-cool your car while it's plugged into the AC mains and not have it cool from your battery pack, or you want to check if the car is locked or not, or you want to just check to see whether there are charging stations available nearby. There are about 35 features that the app offers, which can be a very valuable tool in understanding your car, your EV, if you're so interested, and even including battery health, which tells you that you should go to the service center to service your battery, or overnight charge your battery. So there are many useful things. Of course, maybe once the year goes on and the novelty of the new electric vehicle wears off, you might find yourself not wanting to use all these features. But for me, for one, after 7 years of using electric vehicle, I still look at the SOC number and I still look at how long it will take to charge the car, and maybe lock and unlock the doors. So these are useful features if someone wants. Then paying 3,500 plus for a year, whether it is worth it or not. I mean, if you just look at the data package, if you have an ordinary prepaid SIM card from any telecom provider, it's about 2,500 for a whole year, 2 GB a day, unlimited calling. If that's what they're charging for, indeed. I don't know what what Tata Motors is actually charging for. Are they charging for app development? Are they charging for hosting the app on a particular website? So guys, this is definitely a luxury feature that only electric vehicles can offer. Of course, ICE cars also nowadays have some apps and some connectivity features, but normally ICE car users are not used to paying for connectivity or apps. They just use the car and that's how it goes. Also, when you service an ICE car, it costs a hell of a lot more per year. So this is nothing compared to that cost. If you look at it in that manner, it's a minimal, negligible cost, and you're just paying for some extra features, which if you want, you can just go ahead and do it. On the other side, I don't think they should be charging so much for this. So guys, again, coming down to what is it that is really being paid for, there is basically a SIM card in the car which requires some kind of a data plan. On a postpaid plan, if it's just purely data, which is not a lot of data either, it's not pictures or video, it shouldn't cost so much, maybe 1,000 rupees per year for a postpaid plan. So this is like overcharging by 2,500. Our take on this is that definitely connectivity has a cost. Maybe it's not so much, and maybe bundling it with a team of software developers who would develop the app, keep it up to date. We did a rough calculation of 3,528 for 5 years, for 2,000 or maybe 5,000 users, that gets you about 8 crore rupees. And that's enough to basically hire a team of 5, paying them 50,000 rupees a month for 29 years. So that's quite a lot of money that Tata is making on this. So some thought needs to be given into what better features can be provided. Guys, this is the fifth issue in the issue tracker. This is again a connectivity issue regarding the Bajaj Chetak. We have a Chetak owner from Pune who bought his Chetak in 2020. June 2021, he completed 1 year and has ridden it for 1200 kilometers. Now what has happened is suddenly his connectivity app says that he has to pay 4,700 rupees for 1 year of subscription. This is absolutely fleecing it, guys, because the previous issue, Tata Nexon, was charging something 3,500 for a 4-wheeler. Why should it be so much higher for a 2-wheeler over here? So over the past years, we have noticed that Bajaj has not done anything to fix any issues, no OTA updates, no software or bug fixes, no calling in people into the service center to update their BMS or their software. So with nothing being given to the customer, this kind of charge is really exorbitant. Bajaj is doing this all around. They suddenly increase the price of their scooter as well. They're not probably going in for FAME 2 subsidy. When the subsidy does come in, it will still hack the price down a little bit, but not that much. So this is just not done, guys. There has to be a proper justification, some good feature or facility that is being given to your customer so that you can justify this kind of a cost. A couple of years back, when we had spoken to the people at Bajaj, they told us that it would be probably 700-800 rupees a year. That would be the cost of the yearly connectivity plan, which is kind of justifiable because that's what would be the cost of the data plan which they would take for the SIM card which was there inside each and every scooter. But 4,700 seems a bit steep, guys. Please go to the link in the description below, take a look at this issue. The owner has written to the company asking them for a good response. He has not yet received a reply from the company. And just like the Tata Nexon EV owners, here Chetak owners also feel that this is a strategy by the company to just fleece them and make extra revenue and not provide anything in return for it. So please let us know what are your thoughts on this. Go to the forums, put down your posts over there, make some comments in the YouTube video and let us know. We want to know what you think about this. So thank you friends for watching till the end this week's episode of Electric Vehicle Issue Tracker. Tell us what you felt about this. What are your feedback for improving this series? If you are facing any issues with your electric vehicles, do go to our forums and report them in the format given. Let us know what are the solutions that if you have found any, and I'm sure community members will also come forward and offer solutions to you if you're putting up your issues. Thank you. Do like, subscribe and join our channel. See you again next week.